Thank you for having us. We are with Prevent Child Abuse Utah. We're a nonprofit organization based in Salt Lake and Ogden, established in 1984, and we are the only nonprofit in the state whose sole mission is to prevent child abuse. Today we will help you learn how to protect your students and prevent child abuse in your schools. It's an adult's responsibility to protect children, and as educators, you are the front line of child protection. Today, we'll give you some concrete tools for how to prevent abuse in your schools. We want you to be actively involved in preventing abuse at your schools. Our objective is to give you information and tools so that you can support students in these really difficult situations and help to make things better. We know it is difficult in moments of crisis to know what to do. There are 4 types of abuse. The first 3 we will talk about today are physical, neglect, and emotional. You may see the after effects and receive disclosures from children about these 3 types of abuse. Physical abuse is anything that leaves a long-lasting mark, such as bruises, cuts, or scrapes. In the state of Utah, spanking is allowed so long as it doesn't leave a lasting mark. Children who have experienced this type of abuse may have unexplained injuries, a fear of going home, or a fear of physical touch. Neglect is when a child doesn't get their basic needs. The 7 basic needs are food and water, shelter, clothing, love and attention, hygiene, medical care, and education. When neglect happens, students may have poor hygiene, poor growth, or weight gain, or they might store food away when it's given to them. Emotional abuse is a pattern of behavior that negatively affects the way a child thinks or feels about themselves. This can involve verbal abuse or witnessing domestic violence. Students who experience this type of abuse may have low self-esteem, withdraw socially, or they may desperately seek attention. Typically, the Division of Child and Family Services, DCFS, does not open cases for emotional abuse. They have finite resources and can only open so many cases. We still encourage you to report emotional abuse, but this is a time for you as an educator to provide guidance and support for a student who is experiencing this type of abuse. For any type of abuse that you suspect, call it in. DCFS keeps track of all calls whether or not cases are opened. Your call may play into the opening of a case later on after other reports are received. The last type of abuse is sexual abuse. Sexual abuse might occur at home or at school, which is why we're spending more time on this one. There are 2 types of sexual abuse, touching and non-touching. Touching sexual abuse occurs when someone touches a child on their genitalia, breasts, or buttocks for no reason. Non-touching is anything that is inappropriate and of sexual nature that doesn't involve touching, such as taking inappropriate photos of a child, sending inappropriate photos to a child, exposing a child to sexually explicit materials, asking a child to undress, etc. A child may exhibit some signs of child sexual abuse: bedwetting, anger, hostility, and hyperactivity, or having sexual knowledge behaviors beyond their years, but sometimes they may exhibit no signs at all. Sexual abuse can be especially confusing for the child because they may experience arousal during the assault, which is an automatic reflex of the body. Skilled perpetrators will go out of their way to make sure their victims experience arousal, which can be pleasurable. If you have questions about age-appropriate sexual behavior, we have provided a slide and a handout for you to look over. These are some statistics concerning child sexual abuse. It is shown that 1 in 10 children will be sexually abused before the age of 18 in the United States. That is 1 in 7 girls and 1 in 25 boys. Most children do not report sexual abuse. This can be due to a multitude of reasons. Only 38% of adults who were sexually abused as children reported the abuse. It is our mission at PCAU to teach children the importance of reporting to trusted adults while educating adults how to receive disclosures and make reports so that this number increases. 90% of the time, a child will be abused by someone in their circle of trust. This could be someone in their family, a friend, or someone in their neighborhood. They are also likely to be in the parent's circle of trust. and may also be in yours. Prevention is a process to proactively cultivate a positive culture that leads to a better future for children and their families. Child abuse is preventable, and when we put practices in place for families to avoid maltreatment, we are also saving children from a lifetime of dealing with the fallout of these traumatic experiences. Here are 5 reasons for why prevention is better than intervention. Child abuse and neglect put kids at risk for more health problems. According to the Adverse Childhood Experience Study, children who experience child abuse and neglect have an increased likelihood for cardiovascular disease, obesity, alcohol and tobacco use, mental health problems, and more. Child abuse and neglect stymie a child's normal growth and development. Kids who have experienced them can have cognitive and language disorders and socio-emotional problems such as low self-esteem, lack of trust, and poor relationships with peers and adults. Prevention programs are more effective than treatment. Treatment services, while critical, are often ineffective in completely changing parental behaviors. Multiple program evaluations have found that even sophisticated treatment plans only eliminate future likelihood of abuse in less than half of clients. Prevention programs provide a safe space for children to discuss concerns. These efforts can help kids know how to protect themselves. Prevention programs help to break the cycle of abuse, violence perpetration, and victimization. Prevention requires an investment of commitment, resources, and time up front, but it's more effective in the long run. We are going to go over the 5 protective factors that strengthen families against child abuse and some practices that you could implement in your school to build them. They are parental resilience. Parents have the ability to manage stress and function well when faced with challenges, adversity, and trauma. They can bounce back from difficult circumstances, but also have the ability to grow stronger in the face of adversity. They understand that challenges help us to grow, and they face them head on. Educators can help build resilience by telling parents what they are doing right, praise them obnoxiously, help them identify their strengths and how they have overcome challenges in the past. Social and emotional competence of children. Children understand how to interact and communicate their emotions positively. They can name their emotions and know how to regulate themselves with positive coping mechanisms, and they also have the social skills to maintain positive relationships. Counselors and teachers can help by implementing practices in the classroom that help students identify feelings and teach healthy coping mechanisms, emotional regulation kits and activities, social skills groups. Teach kids about fight, flight, freeze responses and how these all stem from fear. Knowledge of parenting and child development. Parents have a good understanding about developmentally appropriate behaviors and positive parenting strategies. Schools can help by providing parent nights to teach skills that can be implemented in the home, technology night, child abuse, emotional well-being of children, etc., and helping parents understand what is developmentally appropriate for each grade level so they can have realistic expectations. Also, help parents understand trauma and how it affects brain development. It's not about what is wrong with them, but rather what has happened to them. Help staff model a strength-based framework. All students have strengths. Social connections. The family has positive friends, family, and neighbors who support them. Educators can help build social supports by having school activities where parents can socialize. Also, help kids learn how to connect with each other. Concrete supports in time of need. The family has access to services and supports that address a family's basic needs. Think Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And they have the ability to advocate for themselves, which reduces stress caused by challenges. Schools can help by providing a daycare service, after-school programs, school clubs, connecting parents to community resources, collaborating with local providers of various resources, medical, nutrition, therapy, food, dental, other treatment services, etc. Help parents see that seeking help is a strength, not a weakness. Warning signs are key to prevention. A warning is a sign of a potentially dangerous situation that could be setting up a child for sexual abuse. Intervention in this stage can prevent escalation to dangerous and abusive situations. Warning signs could include being overly interested in a child or an adult who constantly seeks alone time with a child, giving special attention to a child, not respecting a child's no, encouraging silence or secrets with children, prolonged physical contact with a child. When you see these things happen, you can take action. It is important to reinforce boundaries even if it is someone who is in your circle of trust, or if you are with others in a public space. You can intervene in the following ways. Describe the behavior. It is against policy for you to be alone in the classroom with a child. Set a limit. You need to take your conversation to the student lounge. Move on. I'm on my way there, so I'll walk with you. We are now going to practice intervention skills in situations that present warning signs. These scenarios will set up a situation that has the potential to become harmful or abusive. It is important to remember that these situations might be happening without malicious intent, but they can condition children to become less sensitive to ill-intended grooming behaviors in the future. As there might not be malicious intent present, it's important to make your point without being accusatory. As you go through these scenarios, follow our model for intervention, but also think of some adults that you can talk with who have an interest in being protective for both the child and the adult. Remember to follow our steps. Describe the behavior, set a limit, and move on. See that you're alone with this child. School policy states that we can't be alone in a room with a child. I understand you want to give your students support and help, especially if they're having a bad day, and I want you to be able to do that. Next time, let's do this in the hall where it's safer for you and the child. After the presentation, go up to the teacher and say, I saw you running your hands through so-and-so's hair. Playing with that child's hair was inappropriate. I'll be talking to administration about this. I see that you give Sally special gifts. Are all students receiving these gifts? If not, I worry that this could put you and her in an unsafe situation or be misperceived by others. I understand you want to support Sally, but maybe there are better ways to do so, such as words of encouragement. I overheard that joke you made with that student. I understand that you want to connect with your students, but let's make sure to keep our jokes appropriate in the future. If a child discloses abuse to you, this is how you should respond. The ABCDs of receiving a disclosure. Assure the child that they did the right thing coming to talk to you. Now is a good time to rehab these conversations with the child. Let them know that they are brave and smart for doing this and thank them. Let them know that this was not their fault and they are not to blame. Assure them that you will do everything within your power to help them. Believe the child. Very few reports of sexual abuse are falsely reported. Sexually abused children who are not believed are at greater risk for psychological, emotional, social, and physical problems, often lasting into adulthood. Be calm. Expressing shock or panic can frighten a child and make the child shut down or change or retract the story. Keep in mind that children who are sexually abused who get help can and do heal. Try to not show anger towards the offender, who may be someone the child loves. This can add to the child's burden. Let the child talk. Ask open-ended questions. Tell me more about that. What did you mean by this? What happened next? Don't put words in the child's mouth. Don't use leading questions, as this can alter a child's memory. It can also have the child change their answers to fit what you are asking and can make future telling sound coached, which can be detrimental if the case goes to court. Determine the child's immediate needs. If you need to make a report, make it. Seek the help of a professional who is trained to interview the child about sexual abuse. Professional guidance can be critical to the child's healing and can assist in the prosecution process. Disclosures will turn your world upside down, but remember that the child's safety is always your first priority. In the state of Utah, Law 62A-4A-403 requires any person who has reason to believe that a child has been subjected to abuse or neglect to immediately notify the nearest Office of Child and Family Services, a peace officer, or a law enforcement agency. The Child Abuse Hotline is 1-855-232-3237. If you would like to watch a short informational video about how to report child abuse, go to PCAUtah.org. You are required to personally make the report. If the child spoke to you directly, then you must make the report yourself. You cannot report it to a supervisor and have them make the call. The supervisor may be present while you make the call for support if needed, but you need to do the talking. If you make a report and it is investigated and no evidence is found, you will not be held liable. We have discussed a lot of information today, so let's review to make sure we've understood everything. These are preventative steps. By teaching students about body safety, learning your workplace policies, and supporting families, you can help prevent child abuse. Remember to intervene when you see warning signs. When you see a warning sign, you can describe the behavior, set a limit for that behavior, and move on. Make sure to have discussions with other adults so that you can ensure safety for all. Disclosures and suspicions warrant reports. Don't forget to follow the ABCDs of reporting. When you make your report, make sure to have the disclosure or suspicion ready. You will also need to have the child's name and location of where they can be found. We appreciate your time and efforts to help keep your students safe and prevent child abuse in all of its forms. Thank you so much for having us. We're excited about the ways that partnering with you maximizes our ability to keep kids safe. Don't forget to sign up for trainings. We look forward to hearing from you all.